I found out that my son's name was actually a secret tribute from my wife, Sarah, to her first love, my mind just went completely blank. I wasn't naive. I knew our marriage wasn't exactly a fairy tale romance straight out of a movie, but I always figured I could make it work. I thought if I just put in the effort, I could make our home warm and loving eventually. Does it really matter what order people come into your life? Maybe I'm just not the smartest guy in the room, but I didn't think it did. I guess I was wrong because I completely missed the signs. His name is Leo. When he was born, Sarah held baby Leo and was all smiles, grinning at me like she had been thinking about that name for a lifetime. I'm not a very pushy guy, and I couldn't come up with a better name myself, so I just nodded happily, thinking it was perfect. But remembering what Leo said when he came home from school today, I can't help but feel like the punchline of a bad joke. "Dad, my new teacher said my name is really cool." My little guy burst into the kitchen like a tornado, absolutely full of energy. Leo is in the 2nd grade and they had just had a staffing change. "Really?" "Well, of course, Leo. Your mom picked out your name, so naturally it's a great name," I said, encouraging my clearly excited son while I continued chopping vegetables for dinner. "Aha! That's exactly what I told the teacher. I said my mom picked it. Then he asked me what my mom's name was." Leo lifted his face proudly, waiting for praise. My hand slowed down on the cutting board as a tiny prick of curiosity hit me. "Did you tell him?" I asked. "Yeah, I said her name is Sarah." But the teacher seemed kind of weird and sad when he heard that. Leo scrunched up his nose and bit his thumb, something he always did when he was confused or troubled. Suddenly, I felt a tightness in my chest. Call it instinct, or maybe just a bad feeling, but I had to ask her, "Sweetie, what is your new teacher's name?" "I know this one. It's Mr. David." As soon as the name left his mouth, the front door opened, and Sarah walked in. "I'm home. It smells delicious in here." I stared down at the small trickle of blood on my finger where the knife had slipped, listening to Sarah scoop Leo up into a hug. "Let's see what Dad's making." Leo giggled, hugging Sarah's neck. She noticed the cut on my hand immediately and frowned, quickly finding me a bandage. Leo, who hated the sight of blood, was sent into the living room to watch TV, while she tended to me. Watching Sarah carefully wrap the bandage around my finger, I couldn't help but reflect on us. She was in her early 30s, but she still had this youthful grace about her. Even years past her girlhood, I had been drawn to her unique charm. She was beautiful, which was why I married her with my whole heart and soul. It hurt to think the softest spot in that heart might be reserved for someone else. I lowered my gaze, staring at the bandaged cut, and asked softly, "Sarah, what was your first boyfriend's name?" I had known she had an unforgettable first love, but I always assumed it was ancient history, nothing I needed to worry about. Her hands froze. I could practically feel the tension radiating off her as she slowly responded. "Why the sudden question?" "Just curious. Tell me." Silence stretched between us, thick and uncomfortable, until she finished securing the bandage. She stood up, the kitchen light hitting her face, but her voice was faint when she replied. "David." "Ha. So my son, the boy I would protect with my life, was named as a tribute to another man." Despite feeling like a storm was raging inside my gut, I silently finished making dinner. During the meal, the atmosphere was heavy for the adults, but young Leo was cheerfully munching away, oblivious. Sarah broke the awkward silence first. "Sweetie, did you have fun at school?" Watching her, my heart clenched. "Yeah, our new teacher is super nice," Leo beamed. Sarah's eyes crinkled with a smile. "Really?" If I didn't suspect that this new teacher might be Sarah's ex, I would have joined in her happiness. But I hung on to a tiny sliver of hope that this teacher just happened to share the name and wasn't the actual guy. Still, it was hard to shake the feeling. Could I really pretend I didn't know this for the rest of our lives? Leo hadn't noticed the tension, but Sarah glanced at me nervously. Dad, Mom, there's a parent-teacher meeting the day after tomorrow. I pinched my palm under the table, forcing myself to stay in the moment. Okay, I'll go. Sarah, you'll come too, right? She nodded without hesitation. To be fair, as a mother, Sarah was excellent. Despite our lukewarm marriage, we still shared a bed that night. As I lay there with my eyes shut, my mind was swirling. No matter how I looked at it, naming our son after her ex was a low blow. It was a specific kind of hurt that no man should have to take. The night felt wrong. Sarah lay quietly on the other side of the mattress, deep in thought about anything but me. She wasn't one for playing mind games, usually. She was direct. Her silence was all because of the guy I mentioned. Was a first love really that powerful? Even though we were physically close, the emotional distance felt like miles. After a while, she sighed and patted my shoulder. I wasn't sure if it was to comfort me or herself. Let's sleep. We need to be responsible for the family. I simply murmured a reply. In that moment, I realized something painful. Ice won't melt if you aren't the fire that warms it. I held it together until the parents' meeting, anxious to see Sarah's reaction when she saw him. It was a beautiful day, other parents smiling blissfully. But when David entered the classroom, Sarah's shock was unmistakable. I noticed the flicker of confusion and her unsteady hands. Oddly, I felt a strange sense of relief. So it really was him. David was dressed sharply but casually, catching everyone's eye. He clearly saw Sarah, or knew she would be there. His eyes seemed misty when he looked at her, biting his lip like a soulful boy fighting for love against the odds. Some parents were staring at us for no reason. I ignored them and glanced at Sarah, who was staring intently at David. I think I finally understood why people say you never get over the one that got away. Once they reappear, you just can't look away. David shifted his gaze from Sarah to me, his watery eyes looking a bit aggrieved, as if I were the intruder. I felt pale thinking of my child's name, feeling like a walking joke in David's eyes. I felt like a terminally ill patient waiting for the end. David slowly walked to the front, talking to the parents about the semester's key points. He spoke deliberately, and people were listening. After wrapping things up, he left the classroom, but not before casting a sad, longing look at Sarah. As the parents scattered, I saw Sarah trying hard to resist the urge to follow him, but her body language screamed that she wanted to chase him. I flashed a big, fake smile. Go ahead, Sarah. She froze, turning her head in disbelief. It was like she realized that I knew everything. For the first time, Sarah stammered when talking to me, unable to hide the guilt on her face. That's when Leo tugged at my hand. Dad, I'm hungry. Let's go home and eat. I smiled, picked up Leo, and agreed. Turning around, I held him tight and walked toward the school gate without looking back. Sarah fell further and further behind, never catching up. Leo touched my cheek. Why isn't Mom coming with us? Mom has things to do. We won't wait for her, okay? I kept trying to smile, but I had a gut feeling that today marked the end for the two of us. I had lost completely. It's strange. I loved her so much, was willing to do anything, waiting resolutely for her to love me back. But when you're weary, one small thing can make you give up forever. Sarah came home late. She silently took a shower and then crawled into bed, reaching out to hold me around the waist. "Mark, I know you're not asleep." Her voice sounded husky. "I met him. He said he just moved to the city for work and doesn't know anyone here but me, so I just helped him find a place to stay." Internally, I could only chuckle. Before she helped him, was he sleeping on the street? "You know, it took me a long time to move on from him, but I'm married now. I won't do anything to betray you. If it's not necessary, I won't meet him again." She rarely softened towards me, and sadly, I found myself softening in return. I casually asked, "What about our son's name?" She stiffened all over, not answering immediately. After a long pause, an apology escaped her lips. "At that time, I wasn't over him, but now we can change the name," she explained hastily. I felt cold all over, my nose tingling with the urge to cry, but I held it back. I turned around to face her, deciding to give her one last chance. "As long as you don't contact him anymore, we can still be a complete family." She hesitated, then finally nodded. I hugged her tightly. "Let's take our son to change his name this Sunday." She agreed hesitantly, patting my back in consolation. I know perhaps some people won't understand, or might even think I'm being pathetic, but this was the person I've loved for 6 years. We got married, had a child. Even if just for Leo, I wanted to give her another chance. I just didn't expect that being soft-hearted was just a way of humiliating myself. A few days later, I took my son to the hospital to get him vaccinated, and unexpectedly saw Sarah smiling gently beside David. She looked so kind and patient, while David looked a bit pale, but generally fine. He leaned towards Sarah, whispering something, and instinctively pinched her cheek. Sarah's face flashed a bit of helplessness, yet she was full of smiles, gently flicking his forehead. They looked like the perfect couple, and I felt like I was standing in a freezer. This was not the Sarah I knew. The Sarah I was familiar with was serious and indifferent. In 6 years of marriage, she rarely smiled at me like that, only showing warmth towards Leo. I assumed she was just naturally aloof, or that because I was just the safe choice arranged by life, we lacked that profound connection. I was surprised to see that she could smile so gently, just not at me. My son tugged at my sleeve. "Dad, what's wrong?" His loud voice drew their attention. Sarah and David turned to us. Seeing my pale face, Sarah visibly flinched in panic for a moment, but she quickly composed herself and walked over, David trailing behind. "Mark, don't misunderstand. David has a heart problem. He suddenly felt panicky and he only knows me here. So he called me. It's a matter of life and death, so I came with him to the hospital." David innocently nodded beside her, then lowered his head, acting apologetic like a kicked puppy. "Sorry, Mark. Don't blame Sarah. It's my fault. I keep bothering people because of this condition." Sarah frowned slightly but said nothing to correct him. I didn't say a word. But Sarah's silence spoke volumes. Because of David's sob story, she forgot about her promise to me. She forgot about her earlier guilt. She only saw David's fragile side and ignored that I, too, am a normal person who can get hurt. Right then, I had to admit all my hopes were shattered. I looked up and calmly said to David, "If you're feeling dizzy, maybe don't flirt with someone else's wife, okay?" David's face flushed red. Sarah took a frustrated breath. "Can't you just let these little things go? David is already feeling terrible. Shouldn't making him feel happy help stabilize his condition?" I looked at them indifferently, saying nothing more, and prepared to take my son inside for his vaccination. Sarah seemed like she wanted to come with us, but as she stepped out, David tugged at her sleeve, looking pitifully close to tears. Sarah's step retreated. She sighed. "Let's go." David sneaked a glance at me, a hint of smugness and sympathy on his face, as if to say, "So what if you married her and have a kid?" With just a word from me, she follows me. I couldn't help but find it funny, pulling my lips into a bitter smile. "Sarah, oh Sarah, I must have been blind to love you, but that's okay. I won't love you again. Someone like you isn't worth it." After the vaccination, I bought some groceries with my son, then got a cab home. Sitting in the car, watching my lively, adorable son, I felt heartbroken. It was unfair for him to have a mother like her, and for me to have a wife like that. Today, I truly realized I was the loser in this equation. Panic set in as I recalled a night last year. I had a bad attack of appendicitis. The pain was unbearable, and Leo was crying beside me. Sarah was on a business trip, so I called her and told her my stomach hurt. Her voice was calm and steady. "Just call 911, she said, dismissing me with one sentence. I chuckled quietly in the cab. "Dad, why are you laughing?" my innocent child asked. I had some thoughts and gently asked him, "Sweetie, do you like your new teacher?" The little guy looked up at me and said, "No." I couldn't help but smile. "If you could only live with Dad, would you be okay with that?" He bit his finger in frustration. "Can I live with Mom too?" I shook my head. "Mom can visit you often, but we won't live with her." He thought for a long time, and then hugged me tightly. "I want to be with Dad." Kids can feel who loves them more. By the time we got home, it was already evening. Sarah got home early and was sitting on the sofa drinking wine. She hadn't had a drink in a while because Leo doesn't like the smell. When she saw us, she tried to be nice and came over to help with our things. I didn't refuse. I had made up my mind. When you stop loving someone, you wake up from the painful mess and see things clearly. If she feels guilt, let it be. A woman's guilt is something to use while you still can. I thought silently, although there was still a dull pain inside. It's normal. No one can just walk away emotionally in an instant. I calmly went to the kitchen to cook, as if nothing happened. Sarah came into the kitchen, leaning against the door frame, watching me. "Are you angry?" she asked. Whenever she was home before, I'd always have her help me cook. I used to think cooking together was the warmest thing. But now? Out of sight, out of mind. "No," I seriously looked up at her. "Sarah, I've thought about it. I shouldn't meddle in your friendships. Everyone deserves their personal space, even married couples." Seeing the seriousness in my eyes, she looked a bit off. To reassure her, I added, "I don't worry. I mean it. Whoever you see, I won't stop you. I trust you." She lowered her eyes, her expression a blank slate, and walked away. After that, every day was filled with a strange tension between us. I no longer cared when she got home or who she was with. Over the years, Sarah's attitude toward me had softened ever so slightly, yet it turned cold again. But honestly, I was too busy to care. I was doing something quietly. I planned to divorce Sarah and get a decent share of the assets, but the most important thing was to get custody of Leo. As for Sarah, let David have her if he wants. I didn't know if she was physically cheating, nor did I have any concrete evidence of it. Plus, being a high-level executive herself, her salary was way beyond mine. This would make getting custody tough. Recently, I checked the family assets in secret and found most were under Sarah's name. Figuring out how to claim them was driving me crazy. Thinking about this, I smiled wryly. When you no longer love someone, all that's left is cold calculation. Forget it for now. I had to pick up my son from school. Honestly, I hated seeing David's face every day, but Leo wanted me to be the one to pick him up. When I got him from David today, the man smiled, slightly condescending. Sarah has been helping me a lot lately. Thanks for being so understanding. I glanced at him coolly. As long as we're not divorced, there's always a third party, David. His face darkened, but shortly after he chuckled. You can't force love. It's bound to happen one day. Well, let's wait then. Want me to call Sarah now to see if she'll divorce me to marry someone else? With many parents around, even David wouldn't cause a scene right then and there. He clicked his tongue. You'll find out sooner or later, then swaggered back into the classroom. Feeling a bit lost, I walked hand in hand with my child along the edge of the street. Today was the same as every other, but even after dinner, Sarah wasn't back. I didn't care. Leo suddenly tugged my hand, begging me to take him to play at the neighborhood park. I knew he just wanted to play in the sand with the other kids. Knowing he hadn't been out to play much lately, I took him downstairs. It was already dark, but the park was lively with many people, bright lights and music. He let go of my hand immediately and ran toward his friends. I sighed and followed him. While he played in the sand, I sat dazed on a nearby stone bench. Suddenly, a chilling cry rang out. I shot up and saw my son on the ground, blood all over his forehead. Blood rushed to my head, panic overwhelming me. A boy beside him, with a blank look, muttered, "Sorry." I was shattered, shouting for someone to call 911. Folks snapped back to reality, many reaching for their phones. I was desperately trying to wipe the blood from his forehead, but it just wouldn't clean up. Why wouldn't it stop? What was happening? Please don't scare Daddy. Wake up! My face was smeared with tears. I called Sarah in a trembling voice, my hands red with blood. Pick up, please, pick up. The panic spread inside me until finally, the call connected. Sarah, where are you? What's the matter? Sarah is drunk asleep next to me here. David's voice came through the phone. I hung up immediately, rage replacing everything else, my heart filled with hatred. Looking at my son bleeding, possibly dying while she was with him. The world spun around me. I cried and clenched my jaw. Just then, the urgent blare of the ambulance filled the air. Out of nowhere, a middle-aged man appeared near the sandbox. The apologetic boy, seemingly emboldened, hid behind him. Dad, I didn't mean to. My eyes zeroed in on the boy, wanting to throttle him. The man looked at me, rubbing his nose awkwardly. Kids, you know? He didn't mean it. Everything will be all right. I stood still, cradling my son with help from some bystanders. If anything happens to him, I swear your son will pay for it. I got into the ambulance, clutching Leo's tiny hand tightly. My son was unconscious, and the blood gushing from his forehead made me fear he might never wake up. I felt cold all over, begging the paramedics to save him. The ambulance got to the hospital fast, and I watched as the emergency room door lit up with a red light. I just sat there outside, praying to God he'd be all right. A long time passed. I waited through the night. Morning started breaking when someone came running down the hallway. I didn't look up to see who it was. I just heard her shaky voice. How's Leo? I didn't respond. I couldn't bother with someone who'd been cozy with another man while our son bled. She tentatively approached me, trying to give me a hug. I'm sorry. I heard the regret and pain in her voice. I exhaled softly, looked up at her numbly, and said the coldest words I ever had. "Sarah, please stay away from us." Each word shattered this tired woman's last facade. I kept piercing her heart. "Stop pretending. What's the point now? When our son was in danger, weren't you in David's arms? Why come here now?" Sarah knelt on the floor, her eyes blank, muttering, "It's not like that. Not like that." My numb heart felt a twisted sense of satisfaction. "Sarah, maybe you'd prefer if he never woke up." I threw the poisonous remark at her, watching her crumble in guilt. Then the surgery room's red light turned off, and the door opened. There was no time for Sarah. I quickly got up to ask the doctor, but Sarah was faster. She clung to the doctor like he was her last hope, her eyes bloodshot. "How's the kid?" The doctor looked tired, but tried to comfort us. He managed a reassuring smile. "Don't worry. He's out of danger because he got here in time. He'll need to stay for observation, though." I sighed in relief, collapsing to the floor, covering my mouth. Sarah leaned against the wall, steadying herself. As they wheeled Leo out, Sarah and I sprang up to see him, looking at his bandaged head and pale face. Guilt weighed heavy on me. If I hadn't zoned out in the park, he wouldn't have suffered. But some sins require atonement. I turned to Sarah, her face pale and bitter. I hadn't planned on revenge against Sarah or David before. I naively believed loving someone wasn't a crime and simply wanted a peaceful divorce. Even when David provoked me, I just swallowed it. But yesterday, David and Sarah shouldn't have pushed me. After facing my son's near-death experience, I realized nothing mattered more than him. Her betrayal paved the path, and I wouldn't hold back now. "David, you'll never get what you want. Sarah, dwell in your guilt and pain. I'll bring you both down." Watching my son sleep peacefully, my determination grew. I turned, meeting Sarah's cautious gaze. "Mark," she softly called, pulling at my hand. "I know words mean little, but I want to explain. For my plan to work, I suppressed my revulsion, playing soft. All right, one last chance. Go ahead." She looked up, surprised, hugging me tightly. I felt cold tears trickling down my neck. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. David made me doubt, but it's not him I love. It's you. When I was with him, I thought about us. I loved when you let me help in the kitchen. I love our kid. He's so sweet. Before I took David to the hospital that day, I told him not to contact us again. It was supposed to be the last time. But when I came home, you seemed so different, so distant. I feared you didn't love me anymore, so I kept seeing David. I waited for any sign, even anger, just to feel your love. Yesterday I got drunk and David answered." She bared her soul, and all I felt was amusement. But on the surface, I pretended to be moved. "All right, Sarah. I'll believe you this last time. Let's be a family again." Like a drowning person finding driftwood, she nodded and laughed, clinging to me. I secretly snapped a photo of us hugging in that moment. "Sarah, if you say you love me, let me use that love. David, if you're confident, let's see what you have backing you up." After the sun set, only Sarah and I headed back home to get supplies. At the entrance of our building, I noticed a couple pacing anxiously outside. I got out of the car, Sarah following closely, wanting to speak, but this wasn't the time for her. I approached them, disliking them immediately. It was the parents of the boy who pushed Leo. "My son's out of danger, staying for observation. How do you plan to make amends?" Sarah glanced at me, confused, and I explained it was their son who pushed Leo. To my surprise, they both dropped to their knees. "We'll pay. We'll bring our son to apologize. Please don't blame him," the elderly woman sobbed. Her husband beside her was speechless and red-faced. Faced with their earnest pleas, shabby clothes, and sincerity, I felt a sense of helplessness. Sarah hesitantly sought my cue, and I helped the woman up, sighing. "As long as the medical bills are covered, just find some time to bring your kid over to apologize to my son." "All right," the woman had tears of gratitude in her eyes. The guy beside her stood up right away with a fake smile plastered on his face. Of course, you're truly forgiving." I didn't want to look at him any longer. I turned and walked toward the building. Sarah followed closely behind me, her voice heavy with guilt. "I'm sorry. It's all my fault." When we got home, I forced a smile for her. "It's okay. As long as the three of us can live peacefully from now on, that'll be enough." She was downcast, but when she heard that, she lifted her head, eyes brimming with tears. Her voice was shaky and determined. Yet, I didn't want to believe anything she said anymore. I told her I was tired today and wanted to sleep alone, so she silently moved her bedding to the couch. Lying in bed that night, I sent David the photo I took of Sarah hugging me at the hospital, adding a caption. "Even the wildflowers eventually need to return home." Sure enough, a frustrated message quickly came back. "What are you so smug about? It's just because you two have a kid together, right? Sarah's heart belongs to me. She's only with you because of the kid." I smirked. Hook, line, and sinker. "You say Sarah's heart is with you, but do you have any proof? Talk is cheap, right?" Very quickly, he sent over a picture and an audio clip. In the picture, Sarah, cheeks flushed, was kissing David's face. I saved it without batting an eye and played the audio. "Sarah, do you still love me?" Sarah's voice was a bit muffled, but she replied, "Of course." Then David asked her if she was willing to divorce her husband. Sarah didn't answer directly. She seemed drunk, mumbling something about not loving divorce. After I listened to it, I let out a small sigh. It felt like whatever little attachment I had left disappeared just now. I switched off my phone, relaxed, and closed my eyes, drifting into sleep. No need to compete with another guy or worry about whether Sarah loves me or not. I'm just me. Just Mark. When you stop loving someone, it might not be because of some big, dramatic event, but a small turning point. Why did I stop loving her? Maybe it was that moment when we saw the light in each other's eyes die out. That moment of clarity where we knew we needed to quietly exit. No matter the effort, it was useless. Everything crumbled. Holding David's so-called proof of love, I zoned out during breaks at work. Messages kept popping up on my phone. Sarah was asking what I wanted for dinner. She'd pick me up afterward. I checked it and told her I wanted pizza. She replied instantly that she'd be there. Our son had recovered over the past 2 weeks, and I'd already sent him to my parents' place temporarily. I told my parents about wanting a divorce. Initially, they were silent, but in the end they supported me. I vowed to start fresh, not letting them worry anymore. It was time to end everything. After work, Sarah drove to pick me up. As soon as I got in the car, she handed me a bouquet of roses with a flushed face, acting a bit awkward. "This is the first of many more to come." She cleared her throat, shifting uneasily. I smiled and accepted the flowers, politely thanking her. She frowned. "Don't thank me. We're a couple." I just smiled back, humming a tune. Sarah seemed to think my mood was great because of the flowers, as she smiled wide. "When are we getting our son back? He must be missing his mom and dad." I didn't reply, just kept humming and staring out the window. Sarah seemed to realize something, and her smile faltered. She looked at me, unsure. The rest of the ride was silent. When we got home, in a whirlwind, the table was already set with lots of food. Sarah guided me to a chair and sat beside me. I tried the pizza and praised how good it was. Her eyes lit up instantly, clearly relieved. Just then, as she placed a piece of rib in my bowl, I pulled out the divorce papers. Seeing the big, bold words, "divorce agreement" on the paper, her hand shook, causing the rib to fall onto the table. What a waste, I thought. Waste not, want not. Her eyes rimmed red as she tried to smile it off and reached for another piece of rib for me, but her trembling hands failed to get a grip. I calmly picked up another piece and placed it in her bowl. "Sarah, let's not avoid this. Let's get divorced," I said softly, with a smile. She took a deep breath, put her chopsticks down, and covered her eyes with her hands. "I don't want to hear it." Her voice trembled. "You said we could have a happy family. We still have our son, don't we?" Suddenly her voice turned frantic as tears reddened her eyes. "You must have felt it, haven't you? I've wanted out of that other situation for a while now." Looking at her bewildered and embarrassed face, besides a sense of revenge, I felt a trace of sadness. She was laughing and crying all mixed up, incoherently denying it. No, we still have a future." I raised my phone, showing her the picture David sent. Seeing the mixed confusion and paleness on Sarah's face, I pressed play on the audio again, smiling. After listening to it, Sarah suddenly screamed that those weren't her words. She whipped out her phone, calling who knows who in a panic. It was David who picked up. "David, tell me what's with the recording and the picture." David paused, probably realizing I was there, and without fear he answered on speaker. "It's just what you heard, Sarah. I know you still love me. You just won't admit it. You confessed when you were drunk." Sarah's eyes flared, her voice chilling as the grave. "If you don't want trouble, spill the truth. Don't think I don't know you're seeing that older woman." I was sitting cross-armed, enjoying this dog-eat-dog show. David fell silent for a while, unwillingly apologizing. "Sorry, I took the photo when you were drunk, and I did some editing with the recording. I'll send you the original one. Sarah, forgive me for old times' sake. I just love you. Too much." Sarah let out a harsh laugh. "You think I don't know why you contacted me? It's all a game for you. Don't bother with me again, or your secrets might come out." After hanging up, Sarah looked at me anxiously. Before long, David sent over the original audio. I played it, and this time it was crystal clear. "Sarah, do you still love me?" "I do. But honey, you don't love me anymore." David was quiet for a moment in the recording, and then asked, "Would you be willing to divorce your husband?" "Humph, you don't love me anymore, but don't think I'm going to divorce you. How could you not love me?" I listened to the recording quietly. Sarah watched me intently, not wanting to miss any expression on my face. She smiled as if reborn. "See, honey, it's all a misunderstanding. I love you. Let's not get divorced, okay?" Looking at the message from David on my phone, I thought, even if you win, so what? No one can replace the first love spot. She hesitated. I let out a tired sigh and said my last words to Sarah. "Sarah, you know this isn't the decisive piece of evidence. It's just the straw that broke the camel's back. Because of that old flame in your heart, you gave our son, who I painfully cared for, a name that insults me. Because David had a heart attack, you dropped everything to go with him to the hospital. And when I had acute appendicitis, you casually told me to call 911. Because of the so-called youthful memories, you ignored your waiting husband at home and got drunk all night with him. All of this, I'm just too tired. Really. Let me go. I don't want it to get ugly. You'll always be the kid's mom." After saying this, I was completely drained. Sarah was already in tears. I gently placed the divorce papers in front of her. She knew that once I'm determined, nothing can stop me. When I loved her, I gave it my all. Now that I don't, I give it my all not to. In the end, she lifted her hand, and without even looking, signed her name. You can have all the assets. I'll leave empty-handed, but I won't give up. I'll pursue you again. I'll wait for you. She looked at me with tears mixed with a smile, showing determination. As I expected, Sarah will live with guilt for the rest of her life. Sometimes her stubbornness and deep feelings are a big irony, harming both others and herself. And with David, I had already torn things apart. I secretly sent a report to the Education Bureau, not mentioning anything about Sarah. I still hoped, as the child's father, not to lose face entirely. Who knows how? But it got out that David was seducing students' parents, which caused a huge stir. And surprisingly, on the day David was fired, a middle-aged man came looking for him, punched him, and called him shameless for seducing his wife. Everyone found out that David had used his looks to seduce a wealthy woman worth millions. He got beaten up by her husband right there in full view. David was left battered and bruised. No one stepped forward to help him. All around were looks of disgust, and people enjoying the drama. David cried as he fled, and all we heard was that the rich woman's husband threatened anyone who helped him. Now David is probably going to have to live with his tail between his legs. Sarah knows about this too. We divorced successfully, but stayed in touch for the kid's sake. She told me David deserved it. On a certain Sunday, I took our son to change his name. He's no longer called Leo, he is Sam. Our son really likes his new name, and so does Sarah. I've been doing well with just Sam. We go on outings now and then, but right now I'm not interested in entering another marriage. Sarah still bugs me, using the excuse of seeing Sam to create some drama, keeping other women away from me. Honestly, I've never thought about getting back together with her. For her, I've exhausted my feelings, and there's no spark left. I've told Sarah this, but she just smiled and said it didn't matter. She had to face the consequences of her mistakes. Whether I remarried or not, she'd always keep an eye on me. I know she's stubborn and serious, so I left it at that. Who knows what the future holds? Maybe she'll find her second chance someday. Right now, I just want to enjoy my own life. There's no rule that says we must marry one person. There's no rule that says we must live only for a partner or a child. We came into this world alone and will leave it alone. Maybe the intense memories of love will make you run headlong toward someone. But life is always in the present. Remember that simple happiness is the best gift from this world. I'll savor my own life and let Sam enjoy the beauty of this world. As for Sarah, time will tell. Maybe we'll have another chance, or maybe we won't. Who knows?
We're gaming. Such a supportive community. Woo! Yep. Get out of there. Just having fun. We're just gaming.